Right, let's set the stage. Chicago, America's third-largest city, a vibrant metropolis known for its deep-dish pizza, jazz, and towering skyline, has always been a crossroads of cultures and a symbol of resilience. But in September 2025, it became the epicenter of a national storm, the focal point of a federal operation that would send shockwaves far beyond the city limits. On September 8, 2025, the Trump administration announced a sweeping ICE operation targeting not just Chicago, but the entire state of Illinois. The scale was unprecedented. Hundreds of agents mobilized, dozens of neighborhoods mapped out, and a clear message sent from Washington. No city, not even a sanctuary, was off limits. This wasn't just another routine check or a quiet enforcement action. It was a high-profile, highly publicized deportation crackdown, designed to make headlines and send a chilling warning to undocumented communities everywhere. The timing was no accident. Announced through official press releases and amplified across social media, the operation was orchestrated for maximum visibility. Every detail seemed calculated to spark debate, draw media attention, and stoke political fires in a country already deeply divided over immigration. The Department of Homeland Security framed the Blitz as a necessary strike against what they called dangerous elements within the undocumented community. Officials spoke of public safety, national security, and restoring order, language that resonated with some but alarmed many others. But Chicago is a city that wears its sanctuary status with pride. The operation set the stage for a dramatic clash between federal enforcement and local autonomy, pitting city leaders and residents against the might of the federal government. Tensions flared as protesters took to the streets, and city officials vowed to protect their communities. The name, Operation Midway Blitz, evoked a sense of wartime urgency, conjuring images of conflict and siege. For many Chicagoans, it felt less like law enforcement and more like an assault on their way of life. News of the Blitz spread rapidly, carried by television, radio, and word of mouth. Fear and uncertainty gripped neighborhoods as families wondered if they would be next. Streets emptied at night, and the city's usual energy was replaced by a tense, uneasy quiet. In the coming sections, we'll unpack the chaos, the politics, and the human stories behind Operation Midway Blitz, a story that reveals the deep fractures and fierce debates shaping America in 2025. The Trump administration claims Operation Midway Blitz is designed to target only the most dangerous individuals, hardened criminals, not ordinary families or people simply living their lives. Officials emphasize that the operation is not a broad sweep, but a focused effort to remove those who pose a real threat to public safety. According to the Department of Homeland Security, the operation zeroes in on gang members, violent offenders, and those with extensive criminal backgrounds. The administration points to arrests of rapists, traffickers, and individuals involved in organized crime as evidence of their targeted approach. In press conferences and official statements, ICE agents are painted as heroes, frontline defenders keeping communities safe from the so-called worst of the worst. The administration frequently highlights high-profile cases where immigrants with serious criminal records were released due to local sanctuary policies, arguing these examples justify federal intervention. Officials argue that when local authorities refuse to cooperate, the federal government has no choice but to step in and enforce the law, framing their actions as a necessary response to protect the public. The operation is consistently framed as a defense of public safety, not an attack on immigrants or immigrant communities. The message is clear. The goal is to remove dangerous criminals, not to break up families or target people based on their immigration status alone. By focusing on the worst of the worst, officials attempt to deflect criticism, making any opposition to the operation sound like an endorsement of crime or lawlessness. However, beneath the surface, the gap between the stated mission and the actual execution of these operations raises important questions about their true impact and effectiveness. In practice, the scale of these operations often leads to collateral arrests, sweeping up individuals who may have no serious criminal history but happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The real-world execution of Operation Midway Blitz often reveals a much broader impact than the official narrative suggests, leaving entire communities feeling anxious and vulnerable, and sparking ongoing debate about the true costs and consequences of such enforcement actions. From Chicago's perspective, the events that unfolded were more than just a federal operation. They were a direct affront to the city's core values and its approach to community safety. Chicago has long prided itself on being a sanctuary city, a place where immigrants and refugees can seek opportunity and protection without fear of sudden enforcement actions disrupting their lives. The city's leadership was furious with ICE's unannounced operation. Officials felt blindsided, left out of critical conversations that could impact thousands of residents. The lack of communication was seen as a sign of disrespect, not just to city leaders, but to the people of Chicago as a whole. Governor Pritzker and Mayor Johnson condemned the operation, calling it a political stunt designed to score points rather than a genuine effort to improve public safety. They argued that such actions only serve to create fear and confusion, rather than fostering real security. In their view, genuine collaboration between federal and local authorities would have started with a phone call, a meeting, or, at the very least, a heads-up, not a media spectacle that left city officials scrambling for answers. Chicago's identity as a welcoming city is central to its civic pride. Sanctuary laws are not just legal policies, they are a promise to residents that the city values their presence and contributions, regardless of immigration status. These laws are designed to build trust between law enforcement and immigrant communities, encouraging cooperation and public safety for all. An aggressive ICE crackdown undermines this trust, driving communities into the shadows. Families become afraid to report crimes or seek help, fearing that any interaction with authorities could lead to separation or deportation. The ripple effects of such fear can be felt throughout neighborhoods, eroding the sense of safety that sanctuary policies aim to protect. The Trump administration, however, sees sanctuary policies as obstacles to law enforcement, arguing that they shield dangerous individuals from accountability. This fundamental disagreement has put Chicago and the federal government on a collision course, each side convinced that their vision of safety is the right one. Operation Midway Blitz is more than just an enforcement action. It's a challenge to Chicago's philosophy and its right to self-governance. City leaders see it as an attempt to undermine local authority and override the will of the people. The battle lines are drawn between two competing visions of what makes a society safe and just. In the middle of this struggle are immigrants and their families, who must navigate uncertainty and fear as political forces clash around them. For Chicago, the operation is not just a policy dispute. It's a direct challenge to the city's values, its autonomy, and its commitment to being a place of refuge and hope for all who call it home. No Trump initiative is complete without his social media presence. The lead-up to Operation Midway Blitz was marked by a flurry of activity on Truth Social. A meme depicted Chicago as a war zone, setting the stage for the operation. President Trump proclaimed, "Only the criminals will be hurt," reinforcing the narrative. This messaging turns law enforcement into political theater, energizing a political base. The rhetoric blurs the line between immigration enforcement and military intervention. The operation becomes a messaging strategy, dominating the news cycle. The context includes threats to deploy the National Guard, heightening the sense of crisis. The campaign projects strength and control, regardless of on-the-ground complexities. The operation is as much about messaging as it is about enforcement. The real impact of Operation Midway Blitz is felt on Chicago's streets. The announcement sends shockwaves of fear through immigrant communities. Reports suggest the net is cast wider than stated, with collateral arrests occurring. Everyday activities become high risk, transforming community life. The operation, intended to enhance safety, paradoxically drives communities into the shadows. The human cost is measured in anxiety and disruption, not just detentions. The operation's impact extends beyond arrests, affecting community trust and safety. Operation Midway Blitz is part of a broader federal strategy. Similar operations target sanctuary jurisdictions, framed as essential for safety. Chicago is the latest city in this ongoing national story. Parallel operations in cities like Boston suggest a coordinated effort. Previous operations show a pattern of high-volume arrests, including collateral ones. These operations serve dual purposes: law enforcement and political messaging. They challenge local leaders and rally a political base. Operation Midway Blitz continues a strategy honed across the country. The operation is both a law enforcement action and a political statement. A Supreme Court decision coincided with the operation, impacting immigration enforcement. The ruling allows agents to detain based on race or ethnicity, lowering the legal bar. This decision is a game changer for operations like Midway Blitz. It provides legal cover for broader detentions, raising concerns of racial profiling. The timing is either political luck or a coordinated move, reinforcing feared tactics. The ruling alters the landscape, emboldening agents and weakening legal recourse. The operation's narrative of targeting criminals coexists with broader detentions. The decision impacts the operation's execution and community fears. Chicago's events are a significant moment in the national immigration debate. Operation Midway Blitz has implications for federal-local relations and immigration policy. The operation sets a precedent for federal interaction with dissenting cities. It escalates the conflict over sanctuary cities, challenging local governance. The rhetoric equates immigration with criminality, polarizing the debate. The operation creates a climate of fear, affecting immigrants nationwide. The message is clear: security is fragile and political purposes can upend lives. Operation Midway Blitz places Chicago at the center of a political conflict. The federal administration insists it's removing dangerous criminals, painting a simple story. Local leaders see a political stunt, disrupting communities and undermining trust. The truth lies in the messy middle, with both targeted and collateral arrests likely. The operation is both a law enforcement action and a political weapon. Chicago is caught in the crossfire, with long-term damage to community trust. The operation's outcome will be measured in community impact, not just arrests. The political battle is fought on Chicago's streets, affecting residents' lives. The operation's consequences extend beyond immediate arrests, deepening national divides.